Hey guys, Cujo Matt here. Just wanted to show you a quick video. It might not be that quick. I got a lot of stuff to cover. It's about the Uniform Selector. I'm gonna be posting the link immediately on the Discord for for some people to test, and then after that, hopefully everything goes well, and I'll get it out to other people after that. I just wanted to show quickly how to install it, um, sort of how to use it, and other things that I've included. I wanted to add as much options as possible for everyone, and then just basically what you want to do um, if you want to get rid of it. So first things first, this would be the zip file that you would download. This is the extracted version. You'd want to open this and then drag those into your main directory. I have these files that are called Matty. These are my original files that I wanted to keep. I'm just working on some things, so I have a different textures and txt config folder than the default one. But for purposes of this video, this txt config and this textures is the clean 1.5 2K22 resurrected mod. So these are clean folders there. So you would want to drag these into there. This textures folder doesn't overwrite anything. It's just it adds a folder that you need. The txt one, it will overwrite your YAML, but I have added in the download the default 1.5 YAML in case you need that. It's just always good to have a backup. So the textures folder is just giving you this Cujo Matty folder, and that's where it has the uniform selector, and then all the uniforms are in there. Just a warning, there's over 200 uniforms, and then some other stuff I'm going to go over. And the downloads, I think 7.5 gigs, the zip file, but this is, I think it's around 35 gigs, this folder. So hopefully you have room. If not, you might not be able to use this, but it's big, and it's only going to get bigger as more uniforms are going to be added. So each one of these folders just has all the uniform files for each one. And if somebody wanted to create their own uniforms, it's as easy as just these are the textures you need. So these are sleeves. That's kind of a bad example. I wanted to clean that up a bit, but one of the more recent ones I did, the Texans, where are they? So yeah, this is all red. So there's home and away pants, home and away jersey. So these are just all, there's the selection screens, sidelines. So this has got everything you need. So if you want to create a uniform, you would just create a new folder, call it whatever you want, and make sure that it has all this stuff in it. Fonts you don't have to have, and I should add, if you don't want to use the fonts, all you have to do is just delete the fonts out of each folder. The game, if it can't find the texture, just defaults to the included texture files anyways. So if you don't want to use fonts, because I know that workaround maybe not for everybody, I will say though, I've built these uniforms with the fonts in mind. So like I said, this Houston Texans one we're looking at right now, this is Houston Texans all red. So this does add the home and the away, so you can just be whichever you want, home or away. And without the custom fonts, some of these uniforms would look terrible and just wouldn't even be usable. Prime example of that is the Pittsburgh, I call it the Bumblebee throwback, the yellow and black stripes. The font is very, very unique. No, not that one. It is, yeah, this throwback, home only. So that font is the square, and the uniform without that font is the yellow Steelers default font, and it looks terrible. You wouldn't want to use that uniform. So I'll kind of jump into that workaround and show that again. I know in the last video I said it's real easy and it works every time, and I have discovered that not every team works as easily as I had said in that video. You have to sometimes move the camera a little bit or whatever, but I'll get into that and I'll show you that as well. So that's the gist of that. So now that you've got that all downloaded, you want to go back. We'll just go back to the main folder again. So Cujo Matty, and then this 2K5 Uniform Selector. You want to double click on that, and it defaults to this mods folder, but you don't want to do that. You want to name it exactly the same as this folder here. So we'll go to capital K5 space Uniform Selector and hit OK, and it pops up. Now it has all of these uniforms. So we're just going to close that for a second. I cheated. That's not supposed to be there. So now what I would do is I would right click that and I would go send to desktop, and then that way you have let's just close that off. That way you'll have this icon. I put it with my NFL 2K22 EXE shortcut just so that I have them close together. Lost Soul is also working on a JSGME thing to add other mods to the game, so you'll have three. You'll basically have your EXE, the Uniform Selector, and then the one he does. I purposely changed the icon to red just so it does differentiate from the one that Lost Soul will be putting up. And yeah, so why don't we start the game. Minimize that and bring up the Uniform Selector. While it's loading here, I just wanted to kind of give a shout out to Flame of Hope and Lost Soul, BT0 and Zeven, and anyone else if I missed you, sorry. There's lots of people, but they've all, most of these uniforms are just me repurposed or recolored. I did create quite a few, but you know, they need to get credit for the work that they did on the original uniforms and the templates, and BT0 did a bunch of font work, and Flame of Hope, he's just constantly doing things. He's got some super cool retros that I'm actually gonna sort of go to first off. So when we get this window open, one thing I'm gonna point out right away, I like to make the window bigger. Just drag it over until you can make sure you have all the wording in there, just because this Green Bay Packers throwback gray mask, I know it's Lost Soul's a huge Packers fan, and it's he I think he made them, I'm not sure, but I didn't. But the throwback Green Bay Packer uniforms that they wore, in order to have the gray mask, you have to use a different slot when you select them. So I've just put sort of instructions there. The Titans are the same. I know Flame of Hope was really big on them. He loved the red mask, so in order to use the red mask, it uses a different one than the, regular home and away. So I've put in the instructions to use that slot when you select that. If you want to use the red mask, I have also put it so that you can select them in the home or away slot, and it won't have a red mask. But obviously, I highly recommend just using this red mask one. But I know this Tennessee Titans one is the longest one, so always make sure it's there. So now if you close that, every time you use it from now on, well, I'm a liar. That's the first time I ran into that. Oh no, it was right. It'll always open to that same size. But anyways, so we are going to go into a game. So let's go with, might as well show off those uniforms I was just mentioning. So we're going to go the Tennessee Titans throwback red mask. And we're going to go the Eagles. Another one Flame of Hope did, which is pretty sweet. So we're going to go the throwback. We'll go the white because I want to do the blue Tennessee Titans ones. So if I'm doing the white Philadelphia Eagles, it'd be better as an away. So we'll go Titans. And as you can see, it said I have to use for red mask use slot 89.90. So if you click over 89.90 right there, and as you can see, the selector switched to that uniform, so you know you're on the right one. And Eagles. Eagles is in the current uniform, but it did switch the selection screen to that particular uniform, so you know you picked the right one. And selector is missed. I missed that one. Anyways, that helmet should be the Oilers one, but I clearly missed it. So that, I'm sure how much work I put into this, there's probably going to be a few mistakes here and there. So please don't feel bad of telling me my mistakes. It's important for me to get feedback in order to get that stuff fixed up. Alright, so we're just going to skip that. You know what? Sorry, guys. I just want to quit real quick because two things. One, I want to load my roster, and two, so we'll go back to that. Eagles. And two, this game looks so much better at night. Alright, skip. So we'll kind of go into right away here. I showed it in my other video, but we'll just go over it again. Just about the numbers, and we got lucky. The Titans one, they're loaded. But I always just skip ahead, get to the first play. And then once they hit the ball, go to replay. Do my little trick here. Oops. Alright, so that loaded those fine. Okay, so now what I usually like to do is I'll just quit that one. And then when you go back in, now that when you go back in, it'll all the fonts will be good, so you can get the whole experience with the intros and everything, with the fonts being nice. You don't obviously have to do that. Some people, I'm sure, just don't care about getting past that first play, but I like to get the whole experience. And then I record a lot of videos, so obviously, you know, if you're recording a video of the game, it's nice to have the fonts good for the whole entire video. So I'll just let this play for a second here. Maybe get some intro stuff looking good. So yeah, those are the throwback unis that Flame of Hope did, and they're awesome. The big, thing with this uniform selector is there's the two biggest things that I found is, one, the shared textures is a nightmare. I'll get into that a little bit later when I show you something else. But when creating uniforms, you're really limited to what you can do, and you can't have home and away versions of everything, and this eliminates that. You can literally have as many uniforms as you want. The only real downside is the names on the back. We haven't figured out how to change the colors of those, and the having to do that font workaround for the numbers. But I think it's a small price to pay to have as many uniforms as you want. And once you sort of get the hang of using this, it's pretty easy, and it's quick. It doesn't take a whole lot of extra work. Yeah, so we'll just get to the. I don't know. Ah! Okay. So we're just going to take a look quickly. There's that uniform. There's the Eagles throwback. The Jordans. Looks pretty cool. So I have also did sideline uniforms for all 200 plus uniforms that are included. So you don't have to worry about that either. Alright, so we're not going to continue playing that, but that's the gist of that. Oh yeah, so the next thing I wanted to show you is when you get a conflicting file. So it doesn't happen very often, but sometimes it will. If you have both uniforms here, you can just hit this disable all mods. And then, are you sure you wish to disable all activated uniforms? Yes. So we're going to show an example here. If I was to pick, not a lot of people, well, maybe a lot of people, I don't know. But there's, I think, 6 teams that all use a bunch of shared shoe textures. Chicago, Indy, Pittsburgh, Saints. I can't remember all the teams, but they use shared textures for shoes, which has caused a lot of problem. But this allows us to, so that's you're gonna run into that here. So if I pick Chicago throwback, okay, and then if I go to select Pittsburgh throwback, so I get this warning enabling Pittsburgh Steelers throwback. These are files that are in both folders. I've looked them up. They're the shoes. They're I know that looks like a lot for shoes, but it's the shoes and the rain mud texture shoes. That's what those are. So it really doesn't matter. So enabling this uniform may conflict with other uniforms. Are you sure you wish to enable this uniform? I would say yes. And basically what it does is whichever the second mod that I added, it overrides those files of the first one. So the second one is always going to override the first one. Which for those shoes it doesn't matter. They're all just either Nike, Adidas, whatever, generic black or white shoes. So it really doesn't make a difference. So if we can quickly go on that Bears and Pittsburgh. Just quickly show that it didn't make a difference there. All that fun. Sorry, I had to cycle it there. Which you got to do sometimes with F10. So do a little check here again. F10, cycles the plug-in, and there's the fonts. So yeah, so these are those Chicago throwbacks that they wear sometimes, that La Soul made. I love them. They're so cool. And then these goofy ass, the bumblebee ones, I call them. I made these. I gotta be honest, I kind of dig them, but they crack me up. But honestly, that looks pretty cool. And these uniforms add so much. So we'll also show, again, sidelines. Bam. Bam. And nothing's bad. It's just the shoes that were conflicting, and then they just use the last ones. Okay, so that's that. So the other thing I was talking about that this uniform selector did that's really big, as I kind of skip by it, but is some of those fonts. So in the default game, the Colts, for example, the Colts and the Browns use the same font. Just with how those uniforms are. See, it's the older style Browns font where it's just white, generic sort of looking lettering. And if you go to the Colts, they're white. Generic lettering is exactly the same, so it's a shared texture. So if you use custom fonts, it's a problem. And in the default game without the uniform selector, there's probably 10 or 12 conflicting fonts that end up popping up with different slots that you use, and it's kind of a nightmare. So with this, because it's just using pretty much only the home and away slots for every uniform, I've got the conflicts down to only 4 teams, and they're the same. They're the home. They're always the home font, I believe. So that's another thing. So it makes it not a big deal. So if we're going to go with the Browns and the Colts, let's say, so if I was to, we're going to disable all those. And if I was to go with the Colts, sorry, we'll go Browns first. The Cleveland Browns. All brown color rush, I know, is the shared one. So we'll go with that one. And we're going to go with the Indianapolis Colts home. So this is giving me that same warning about conflicts. Those are both fonts. That D3, F8, A, C, D, E, I have that off by heart because there's a bunch of teams that share that same. That font is the most shared one. So we're just going to say yes again. Okay, so I'm going to show you. We'll load this game up, and I'll show you something that I also added in these cases. I think I did it the right way by doing Indy second, but we'll find out. I might have to hop back out here and hop back in. Oh, we gotta cycle that thing. There we go. So yeah, whenever you switch things around, you do have to hit F10 to cycle the plugin. But as you can see, that Pittsburgh font actually is a shared one, so that's why it was still there. And this did work out, by the way. So you know what? We're just gonna jump out so I can show you sort of what you can do if you do it by accident the other way. So let's say I did Indianapolis first. And then I did Cleveland. They're conflicting, that's fine. So now if I went back into that same game, you'll see the issue. We better cycle this too. So now, as you can see, Indy's uniform is orange, which isn't cool. So what I did is I added for those 4 teams, and it's only 4 teams, so not a big deal. So what I did for those 4 teams that do have that one shared font, I put a Indianapolis Colts font override. So if I do that, it'll say there's a conflict, which I know, and then hit yes, and then go F10. There, it fixes it. So now I have the correct font for Indy. Like I said, though, if you kind of get used to it and realize and know that what font you're looking at, you could just add Cleveland first and then Indy second, because like I said, it's always the second one you add that overrides the other one. So I could have did them all separate folders too, all the uniforms, and that would have alleviated it, but it just turned into too many teams. So we sort of decided to go this route. So we'll just show that really quick. So there you go. So as you can see, the Browns, yeah, that name's sucky, but just the way it goes. Obviously, any dark jerseys look better if you use them as a home jersey, and white jerseys as away jerseys. But I don't. The name thing for me, it doesn't really matter as long as you got the uniforms. Kind of is the more key thing. But as you can see, that fixed the conflicting fonts. So there really isn't an issue with fonts conflicting with this uniform selector, which is huge. I know that one I had trouble with was the Seahawks. Lime green alts shared a same font too with the Colts and other teams. So I had issues there, but this, like I said, alleviates it totally. Okay, so that's that. Just checking my list of everything I wanted to go over. I mean, that's kind of the gist of it for this main uniform selector. Like I said, I mean, you just kind of have fun with it. Go through all the teams. I'm going to be constantly adding new. Anybody that adds uniforms, probably the easiest thing to do is people make uniforms and make it compatible with this, which is the easiest way to make uniforms anyways. You don't have to look up hashes and kind of do all that other fancy stuff, and you're not going to have shared textures issues if you just follow sort of how I've laid it out in these folders. So the last 2 things I wanted to show you is let's say you have this and you're like, I don't really feel like using this uniform selector. I just want to play a few quick games, which is sort of the default thing. I also added the I'm just gonna start that. I also added the default. So if you click on this default 2K22 Resurrected mod and you add it, it's a big file, so you can see that green bar filling up there. It's going to take a little bit longer, but what it does is that now is like you don't even have the uniform selector. This is just your default mod. And then this will just play out like if you're just regularly playing the mod. In order to have this work with with this uniform selector, you have to pick this default 2K22 Resurrected mod, though you can't just not pick anything, or it'll look for textures that aren't there, and it'll be pretty much the default game in terms of uniforms. But the good news is let's say you just are going to go through a long period of time where you don't really want to use the uniform selector. If you just hit this default 2K22, you can exit this and go about your life, and it'll always be on. Doesn't matter if that JSGME is open or not. It's replaced files that are always going to be replaced until you do something different. So that's one thing that I added, and then the other one that I added is I had made, before I decided that I was going to undertake this huge uniform thing. I had made some edits to the default slot. So I added a whole bunch of uniforms and went through and tried to, dodge shared textures um, and I just added them to the different slots in the game. So there's not even anywhere near as many uniforms because I was limited to the amount of slots I had. So I'll just show you an example. Sorry, the Texans are one. They got 3 uniform slots. So that sucks. You're real limited. But with this mod, you can see everything that I've added. So I blanked out all the spots that don't have uniforms assigned to them. And if you tried to play a game with them, they're probably going to be borked because they have shared textures. But this will tell you all the. You can use it this way without having to use the uniform selector. You're just obviously you're going to be limited to um, less uniforms for one, and the other thing is that I don't have fonts this way. So if somebody's really against that font, using the font workaround, this would be a way that you can enjoy some of these uniforms. Some of them still don't look good without a font, but I mean it is what it is. If you want the uniforms to look great, you're gonna have to do that font workaround until something else gets figured out. But I just wanted to include that. I had submitted it to Lost Soul, but there's a lot to go through. He wants to check everything before he puts it into the official mod, which rightfully so. I don't, he wants this mod to be the best it can be and not, put out stuff that's gonna have a whole lot of problems. So, but I did figure, I might as well. This is kind of an unofficial add-on, so, and also, like I said, I want to have this out to testers right now so they can check the stuff out I've done, and there's so many uniforms that me just doing it myself is going to be tough. Video's already running pretty long, but I think that's the gist of it. I covered pretty much everything that I wanted to talk to you guys about. I put a lot of work into this thing, obviously, and I hope you guys enjoy it. If this video helped you, please like the video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It'd be great. Any questions, like I said earlier, comment on the video or hit me up on Discord. I'm pretty good at replying to people, so thanks for watching.